honor,
loyalty,
respect,
Kismet.
Hi all, Kismet here. Want to become an awesome settlement overseer? Great! In this episode, we're going to talk about defense. We're going to talk about guard posts, turrets, and traps. And some of my special tips and revelations I learned along the way. So let's go right to it. Now your first instinct is going to be like me. I'm going to build a wall around the whole entire place and then put up guard posts and nothing ever get in. So what I did is I spent hours upon hours using thousands of resources building a giant wall around Sanctuary. That was over 150 wall plates. I then proceeded to pick up all the picket fences and try to make a blocker line around various areas around Sanctuary, thinking I was going to help block the attackers. And I didn't know about storing in the workshop, so what I literally did is I went and grabbed each piece and walked them over one at a time. This took hours upon hours upon hours, and in the end was actually a complete and utter waste of time. After hundreds of hours of playing, I suddenly had a revelation, like a lightning bolt to the brain. Wait a minute, I control where people live. They don't have to live in this broken down house. I can tell them where to live, and I don't have to defend the entire area, only the area where they're living and growing food. This was such a giant revelation that I completely rebuilt everything that I had built before. Now another thing at the same time was another lightning strike to the brain, was store and workshop. While I was tearing everything down, including the food, the defenses, everything, I put it all in the workshop. This way I could move the entire settlement wherever I wanted it to go without having to grab each individual piece and walk it over where I wanted it to go. I could store everything in the workshop and just build it like I was building it for the first time. Now we're going to talk more in depth about that in another guide. But it's vital to understand that you don't need to live in a broken down house and you don't have to defend the entire area. You're welcome. I just saved you hundreds of hours and thousands of resources wasting your time building a giant fence. Unless you already did that like me and learned it the hard way. Oops, tear down that wall. Now, before we get too far in, let's talk about how much defense that you need. What you want to do is you want to add your food, in this case 18, and your water, 24, together. And it lets you know if you have enough defense to reduce the chance of being attacked, but not eliminate the chance. Now, in this case, it's 42 defense that we need. So we need to build turrets, guard posts to get that number up. Now, with that out of the way, we can get down to business. First, let's talk about guard towers. Now, in the beginning, guard towers are actually very useful. Later in the game, I actually removed all of my guard towers and replaced them all with turrets. I actually prefer the guard tower over the guard post because it's elevated. It's easier for your guards to see enemies approaching. First, you build your guard towers. Then, while you're still in workshop mode, you select your settler and assign them to a guard post. Notice how the little icon here where it says requires turned from red to green, meaning someone has been assigned to that particular post. It's also going to produce 2 defense. It's important to know that the guard will actually go from post to post to post. You don't have to put a settler in each individual guard post. One settler will rotate between 3 guard posts if they are close enough together. Later in the game, when you have heavy machine gun turrets, heavy lasers, these guards could be doing something way more productive. Now that brings us to the number 1 defense that I like, turrets. Now the first type of turret is the machine gun turret, and my personal favorite, the heavy machine gun turret. Stack these in an elevated position and watch people get mowed down.
it's over for now.
Ooh, mama, I love those turrets. Ownage! Now it's important to note that I would unlock the perk Gun Nut, and later on Science, and work your way up to better and better turrets as you go along. The important thing to note is that the machine gun turrets do not require power, and the later ones do. But understanding where to put your turrets is the most critical part of defending your base. Notice I've got these turrets up on a pre-existing building. They're elevated and they can fire down on enemies. Now this configuration I call the kill box. Simply a 3x3 square with turrets all around the outside, including heavy lasers in the corners so they have the widest angle of fire. Now, the way to test your defenses is act like you're a raider running up on your settlement. Look at all those turrets that are going to turn and fire down even from a great distance. The reason I call it the kill box is it is defined as a coordinated joint weapons fire. And right now, the enemy would be standing in the open in a terrible tactical position. Now here you can see on my treehouse that I have the defenses actually attached to the building, highly effective. Also, you can put them on top of your building and in the front area. Another one that I recently discovered is a nice skinny area for you to put your turrets on, and they can fire in both directions. The turrets will turn around and fire in any direction they find an enemy. Now, one of my favorite turret setups is here at Grey Garden. It's actually multiple levels of turrets that can even mow down Deathclaws, and I've actually watched the Deathclaws die to these turrets. Now that brings us to traps. Now, one of the traps you can do is the flamethrower trap. You can use a pressure plate or a laser tripwire, which most people prefer because it's hard to see. Now, one of the drawbacks of this that makes it more of a novelty item is the fact you have to repair it every time. But the basic functionality of it is you run power from a generator to the tripwire and then to the flamethrower. The enemy runs through the tripwire and gets flamethrowered in the face. I don't use these ever. I much rather use those resources to build more kill boxes of turrets that'll just mow enemies down. Now, there is a massive amount of stuff you can learn about settlements, and we're going to be covering those in various guides along the way. Now, if you truly want to be an awesome settlements overseer, make sure to press that like button, share this video with your friends, because if you don't, it really upsets dog meat. Also, this round, the comments keyword is Kismet's Killbox, so I know you made it all the way to the end of the video. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you all next time.